Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Everyday Mystic, where we demystify the mystical and transform your everyday life into one of greater meaning, higher purpose, and true joy. I am really contemplating in the midst of like a deep reflection on travel. And this is partly because I recently launched a transformational travel company, partly because my family and I are starting to really embrace our nomadic desires to go and travel more the world. And also, kind of like on a bigger spiritual, philosophical standpoint, thinking about it for what it does for people. So I want to share a story about, my first experience, not out of the country. I had gone to other countries, and been out of the United States with my family. But the first time I ever traveled by myself was when I studied abroad, and I was in New Zealand for a year. And this trip was on the heels of probably one of the darkest times of my life, one of the rock bottoms. Um, and, upon reflection, I was in a worse state than I even thought I was in at the time. Because when you're in those really bad, dark states, at least for me, I was numbing so much. I was in such denial with my addictions and my distractions and my avoidance that I didn't know how bad it was then. But now when I look back on it, I'm like, geez, like I could have died on so many occasions. Like, how horrific was this life I was living? How sad and how scary. If I like picture any loved one in that situation, it would just break my heart. And certainly if I ever pictured my son in any of those scenarios, I would, I don't know, I'd just about lose it. So I put myself in a lot of risky situations, a lot of uh, painful situations, because it was a reflection of the pain that I felt inside. It was a mirroring of my own darkness and confusion and the resistance to my healing and resistance to my acceptance of my whole self and all of the programs that I had to dig myself out of. Uh, Programs of trauma, programs of just typical societal living, programs handed down through school, programs within my university system, all of that going on. But really, at the heart of it all was the trauma that I experienced as a child. So I knew that I needed to do something. I knew that I couldn't go on this way. I was having suicidal thoughts, which I had never had before. I was in a really bad place. So part of me, and I believe it was, uh, a guide that guided me to the study abroad office on my campus, because it's not even something I knew about. I hadn't thought about this. It wasn't like a lifetime dream of mine to go and study abroad. My parents weren't encouraging this, and they didn't have much interaction with my higher education in general, let alone, something like this that people can tie into their higher education experience to be like, oh, you can go and study for 6 months or a year in another country, immerse yourself in that culture, learn at this different type of university while studying the same thing. It was foreign to me. And somehow I came across this office, and I believe I was guided there. And within this office, I learned about the University of California Education Abroad program. I was at the University of California, Irvine. And I, at the time, was not doing well grades wise. I was not doing well, as I described earlier, mentally and emotionally. And I knew as soon as I walked into that office and started talking to them about this opportunity, I knew that this was what I needed to do. I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going to come out of it. I had no idea of what was on the other side of that, but I just knew that I had to go. And which meant I needed to do a lot of things because this program it's a UC wide program. And so they choose UC students from each campus to go to, and there's only a certain number of them that can go to each university within the countries that are partnered with the UC Education Abroad program. So I had to get my grades up. I had to interview and go through that whole process. And I was like the least motivated person at that time in my life. I smoked weed every day, um, was extremely interested in partying. I guess that's the best way to put it because I still went to school. I still went to my classes. There was only one class my whole entire university career that I just could not connect into. I just couldn't muster the energy, or I had no interest in it whatsoever and to go. And it didn't have this drive because I also didn't have interest in statistics, but because there was a challenge to that class where it was difficult already on its face. And then there was this one professor who was, he was notoriously hard, and I happened to get him. So it was this challenge, and I had, like the gauntlet was thrown. I had to succeed and do well through that adversity. So I had something there, even though I didn't enjoy that class, I had something to work towards. Whereas this other one, it's like, it just didn't, it wasn't challenging, and it also wasn't interesting to me. So that's the one class that I would skip, wouldn't go to. I ended up, I think I got a D or something in that class. It was the first non A or B that I'd ever received. And it was a part and parcel of this just really demise into my own mediocrity at the time, and this demise into deeper and deeper into scarier things than mediocrity. The things, as I mentioned earlier, suicidality, addiction, just depression, a lot of anxiety. So something about this study abroad opportunity was this beacon of hope for me. And so I did everything that I needed to and could do to get my grades up. I studied my ass off. I did all the things that I needed to. And I was accepted into the program. I ended up choosing New Zealand to go to. I had to choose that, of course, before I even applied, but that was where I knew I wanted to go. And part of the reasoning for that was that I knew nothing about it. I had no knowledge of New Zealand. And this is back in, man, okay, I'm going to age myself here. This was, I think I applied in 93 because I went in 94. So this is 1994, last century. And I knew nothing. And New Zealand just wasn't on the map then. This is like pre, Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and all of the popularity that New Zealand has gained since. And it was pretty obscure. And it was English speaking. So that was obviously another reason why, because I didn't study a language in college. So I had to choose an English speaking country in the world. And this was the most distant, obscure, unknown place that I could choose. And that was also part of this journey. I knew that had to be part of it, that it had to be something completely foreign, or as foreign as I could get at the time, in order to trigger whatever was going to be triggered in me to wake me the hell up from this downward spiral that I was on. And again, none of this was conscious at the time. I didn't know I was doing all of this, but I was being guided, and I was following that guidance, and it was slowly picking me up out of this deep, dark hole that I had dug myself into. And when I got to New Zealand, it was exhilarating. It was a place that one represented this challenge that I had set out to do, and to get there in the first place and to accomplish that felt really amazing. And then it was also something that I did on my own accord. I chose this as, a 19-year-old when I first started applying to 20-year-old person when I got there. I chose this for myself. No one told me that this is what I should do or suggested that this would be helpful. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's bad when you take other people's suggestions. Like, it would have been amazing if I had, parents or mentors or people in my life that were helping to guide me in a positive direction. They either were and I wasn't listening, or it was that I didn't, have a lot of that going on. So if you do, great, listen. There's the old adage or saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. So I had to be in a state of readiness. For me, it was like getting to a rock bottom situation, to be in a state of readiness, to be like, I can't go on like this. I've got to do something about this. That then the teacher, quote unquote, which was this opportunity and experience to go study abroad in New Zealand, that teacher arrived. This opportunity came to teach me things, to land these lessons in my heart and in my soul that I so sorely needed and was seeking, even though I wasn't consciously seeking at all. And this really, really came to a head or became realized when I was on my first hike. So I was in New Zealand, yes, to study abroad, but also to travel and experience this incredible country. And I was on my first hike in the Coromandel Peninsula, which is on the North Island of New Zealand. And I had never backpacked before. Backpacking, for anyone who's unaware, is you put all your shit in your backpack. You are sleeping out in nature, sometimes in tents, sometimes in huts, sometimes just on the ground with a little lean-to. And you are in for however many days, backpacking out in the wilderness with whatever you've just got in your backpack. It's not, a day hike. It's not a hike where you end up at, a hotel or a lodge or anything like that. So I had to pack everything that I needed in my pack. And I was only going, I think, for 3 days, which at the time felt like, oh my God, I'm going to be in the wilderness for 3 days. I'm going to be on this incredible adventure, something I've never done before. All again, just magical guidance was going on. I chose that. I said yes to it. I went into it full heart, full gusto, and with a very, very, very full backpack. This pack was, I don't know. I'm not even sure if I took things out from like my what I had packed for my year to be in New Zealand. I mean, it was gargantuan. It had like multiple changes of clothes, all sorts of things that I didn't need for 3 days out in what New Zealanders call the bush, out in the wilderness. And, thinking, oh, I might need this. So it went in the back. So I'm hiking now on a trail where I'm going to end up at this place called the Pinnacles. And it's just like, just tree coverage. I'm hiking, uphill for hours, hours and hours, just in the trees. No, just spotty sun. It was very hot. And I had this giant, like 50-pound pack on me for no good reason except to help initiate me, to help really bring this experience to its fruition or into its opening, which is what happened when I came out into this opening, out of the trees and onto this vista. And all of a sudden the light was there and the sun just hit my face, and the view just opened up, and I was out of the bush, still in the wilderness, but on this vista overlooking a valley of where I was hiking, or in New Zealand they call it tramping. So I was there and just in awe of the view, in absolute gratitude to be on a little bit of a plateau vista where I could take a breath and take a moment and take my pack off and just sit and reflect. And what I had been experiencing mentally up the trail was all sorts of limiting thoughts and beliefs, all sorts of negative self-talk of just things like, "Oh, what are you doing? You're so out of shape. You don't deserve to be here. This is what you're crazy. This is ridiculous. You're being unsafe." Like I just all sorts of things that were essentially these limiting thoughts and beliefs that came from my conditioning, my programming, and were telling me that I didn't deserve to have this experience, that I wasn't I wasn't deserving or worthy of what I was doing. And also, I was just in a huge state of pity party. I was in this massive phase of victimization at the time. So it was everything from, oh, you're not worthy, you're not deserving, but then this, you know, oh, it's so hot and my pack is so heavy and all these little complaints that really are hilarious because I put myself exactly in that situation. So who am I complaining to? Yes, I was talking to myself, complaining to myself. I was by myself. So that was going on, but it was in such a blaming way that it wasn't loving to myself. It wasn't supportive of myself, which is what I needed at that moment, at that time, not only in time and space on that hike, but at that time in my life. But I was so used to just bashing myself and not supporting myself, not loving myself. So when I got up out on this vista, put my pack down, like, oh, thank God. I took out my water bottle, had a big slug, and I thought I would take a moment, sit down and write in my journal and reflect on, what I'd been experiencing. And when I pulled my journal out, this little card fell out of it. And my grandmother on my dad's side had died my freshman year of college. And so it was a little baseball size memorial card. So it's a picture of her and then just some information about her and to memorialize her. And it was in my journal and it fell out. So I went and picked it up. And when I leaned over to get it, it's kind of like I went into this tunnel. And then when I stood back up with the photo, the entire valley and trees and mountain I was on disappeared. And I was just floating in light. And it was the most beautiful, heart opening, just the most incredible feeling and place I've ever been. And this light that engulfed me was not of this world. I mean, it was the world without the world in it. It was like what the creative energy of this world is. It's what maybe God might feel like. And at the time, I was an atheist. I didn't believe in God. I believed in something more than us. I believed that we came from somewhere. I believed in a higher power, but I didn't believe in God or what I considered to be a limited view of God from a religious perspective. So I didn't have all of these other tools and resources and information yet at the time to know God in a different way. So I just said I didn't believe in God at the time. And this completely changed that for me. I couldn't not believe in God because I was immersed in it and held by it and so beautifully spoken to within that energy. And this voice came through and said, you need to heal your heart and find your gifts and go share them with the world. And it was this beautiful mission that I was given, a message that was offered to me in love, in this beautiful way. But it was also like, you got to do this. Like, this is not, we're giving you this opportunity to go and do this really important thing that you're here to do. Go heal your heart. Go find your gifts. Go and share those with the world. This is how you will find peace. This is how you will be in the love that you want so desperately to feel and have. This is how you are meant to live and be in the world. And I knew that that's what I needed to go do. So within seconds, I was, back on the vista, looking at the valley, standing with the card in my hand, going, oh my God, in awe, still kind of tethered to this opening that I had and just completely lost, my vulnerability, or I lost my walls, right? All the things that were holding back, all of the pain and the tears and the sadness and the depression and all the resistance that I held to that part of me just blew apart, and I fell to my knees and just bawled my eyes out. And I wasn't sad. I wasn't sad for myself. Like, I had cried plenty of times, in my years up until 20, but always in feeling sorry for myself. And these weren't tears of that type of sorrow. These weren't tears of shame. These weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of joy, of, I just knew at that moment, this is what I'm meant to do. And this is what everybody here is meant to do, or at least have some connection to this greater source consciousness, this God energy, to be able to tap into what they're really here for and what they're meant for and what their greatest mission is. I knew all of that in the second that it took for that information to all come through. I knew that this was all of our birthright to have this and to experience this. And it just was overwhelming with joy and beauty and so much love. So I'm in, love with my husband, and, I've fallen in love with other people before. Right. And I am in absolute love with my son. It's a love that, just is bigger than any love that you can feel, this love for a child. But this love that I experienced on that mountain, this love from God it's I know others who've experienced it before can understand, but it's hard to explain and describe it. It's beyond earthly love. It's beyond love between people. You might get glimmers of what that feels like, between you and other people, or between you and a sunset, or, something, but it is all encompassing. It is hard to call it love because love has so many different definitions of what we mean by love. It's more of just purity and a sense of complete unity. And that brings me to the second message that came through that day, which was that we are all one. And so in that moment, I knew all of this. I just knew it, right? I just knew it into the core of my being. Um, I didn't need to prove that this happened. I didn't need to prove that it's something that can happen scientifically. I didn't need to prove shit because I just experienced this profoundly and in a way that was so transformational for me. Getting that mission and then this message that we are all one, or that I am part of this oneness. So again, unity or oneness is another thing that we might have different definitions around when we talk of this sense of oneness with God. It is a spiritual oneness. It's an energetic oneness. It is that we come from that energy, that we are one with it. Not the same oneness as, humanity, united. Yes, that's part of it, but that's only like this little teeny weeny part of it. It's that we are part of this much, much, much bigger, much, much more grand and incredible oneness with all of source consciousness, with the energy of all that is. And we are not only part of that, but we come from that. I believe eventually we go back to that. And we have many lifetimes here as we experience this human earth school. We experience this human set of forms and lessons that we get to learn. But that we eventually do go back to that oneness, and we can choose that. And that's, the angel realms and the places where our ascended masters are in, and where we get to go once we decide that we're done. Like, okay, learned everything. I'm here to learn. Done all the earth lessons, and here we go. I'm going to go back into that oneness. But until we're in that oneness, we can experience and know this oneness through this connection and opening of ourselves to its existence. It happened for me spontaneously, but there are a couple things in there that I will suggest to you as a ways and means for those to potentially happen for you non-spontaneously, a little more actively, a little more triggered by things. Because I, like I said, I was triggering this happening. I just didn't know I was unconscious to it. But it was a vision quest that I set out to do without knowing that that's what I was doing. So here are some steps for going on your own vision quest, opening up your own transformational journey. The first thing that I would say is get real with your current situation. I had to hit a specific rock bottom, but it was very real. It was, hospitalization. It was really dark thoughts. It was, my body had changed I gained a ton of weight. It was like, I was doing tons of drugs. I mean, there was a lot that I could point to in my life to be like, okay, these were all really bad signs, symptoms. Again, we reflect out our inner condition, our inner condition of our mental and emotional state, our spiritual state out physically into the world. And that might be seen in the body physically. It also might be seen in what we attract into our life. It might be seen through the different experiences that come into our life. So if you're someone who has a lot of the same types of experiences, meaning like you attract the same type of person that you don't want in your life, or you keep going through a certain type of thing in your life over and over, that's again another reflection from ourselves that this is something that is going on within us. It's a reflection of our inner state. And the beautiful thing is that we get to see it out here. That's where we get to make a choice. So that would be the first thing, to get real with what's going on in your life that you can see, that you can touch, that you can witness, that others can witness, and go, what is this reflecting in my current state? What is this telling me about my mental, emotional, spiritual state? We don't yet have to know the answer to how to fix this. We don't yet have to know what to do at all, or where we even want to end up. We just have to recognize that this is not where I want to be. This is not how I'm destined to live. This is not what I'm meant for in this lifetime. I'm meant for more. And once we realize that, choose that, we can then start to make other choices that open us up to the guidance that I mentioned earlier. So that guidance is something that's available for all of us, to all of us, all the time. So getting real with our current circumstances so that we can change some of those things and listen to what we may need to do to change those things. So the listening to our guidance means that we are being open. Again, we don't know where these messages may be coming from. Maybe you want to believe it's coming from God. Maybe you want to believe it's coming from one of God's messengers, like an angel. Maybe you want to believe it's coming from, the universe, or the person that's operating the simulation that we're in. Or maybe you want to believe it's coming from your super ego and your own within yourself. Whatever you want to believe, know that there is a higher consciousness, that there is a deeper knowing that we have. Now, we've all tapped into at certain points. And by listening and tuning into it more, the more it will guide us in the right direction. Because like an entity in and of itself, an energy in and of itself, it will become stronger the more we pay attention to it, the more energy we give to it, the more we open up to it, just like a person would, right? The more we open up to that person, they're going to open up to you, and then you're going to get closer, and then they're going to trust you more. That's this same with our higher self. Same with this higher consciousness, which leads to all of the deeper knowing. So as we open up to that guidance, we can know then what we should do to help out this situation. Because we don't know, our mind, our ego doesn't necessarily know what to do. You might feel completely lost, and that's okay. That's usually where we're starting from. But just trust that by opening up to your guidance, you will get these glimmers of where you should go. And imagine what a glimmer looks like, right? It's like when the sun catches the glass or a mirror and you're like, ooh, it shines and it glimmers, and you go, oh, I see that. Or like off the water. It's like that too. And you get this glimmer, and then you look at it, you follow it, you see where it goes. You get another one, you follow that one, see where it goes. We sometimes call these breadcrumbs, as well as just nudges. All of these are guiding us to where we don't yet know. But when listened to and trusted in, will typically guide us in the direction that our higher self is showing us the way to. But our higher self knows, it can't just plop down what you're maybe not ready for right away, because you will retract, and you maybe have experienced that before, of where you do get that type of sign. You do get that type of interruption in your life. Some of us just go, oh, well, that was a, bad something or other that happened. And then we keep going unconsciously. Some of us, it's like, boom, that's the thing that completely wakes us up. And we go, what have I been doing this whole time? What's going on? I know that there's more for me. So there's always opportunity that's given to us, and it's just whether or not we choose to listen and take action at that time. So that's the next step. Listen, but then take action on things. So we're not just, sitting in a dark room meditating and listening for things and going, okay, this is going to completely change my life. We are taking action on those glimmers, those whispers, those nudges, those taps, and moving in a direction. We're taking action on the information that's coming through. So that information might be guiding you to a study abroad office, or that information might be guiding you into your boss's office to have a conversation, which you don't really know where it's going to go yet. And then all of a sudden, you're talking about promotion, or, your need to be on a different type of team. Maybe those nudges lead you to having a really important session of healing for yourself that you didn't know you needed with someone you didn't even know existed yet. All of these things are out there for us. We don't have to have a plan of where we're going. We just need to trust that our higher self is guiding us exactly where we need to be. And the more that we do trust it, listen, take action in that direction, the more strong it becomes, the more it becomes conscious to you. Because like I said, I operated in this way, as we all do. Unconsciously, things are happening for us all the time, as well as happening through us. And until we become conscious to it, then until we do, we are just, it's kind of happening and we're like, oh, I don't know what this is, or you don't even question it. Once you start becoming conscious of it, you start to make new choices. You start to go, hey, wait a minute. Was this a sign? Is this a lesson? Is this something I should pay attention to? Is that? And once we do that, then we can actually start to awaken ourselves, awaken to who we really are, which is this divine soul in a body that's here for this incredible experience and for a beautiful lifetime ahead. But moving in and through the darkness that we need to go through in order to get there is also part of the journey, is also part of our path that we take, which could be rocky, which could be dark, which could be scary, which can be lonely, which is typically hard. We do all of that to get out on the other side. All of it is extremely meaningful. So everything you've experienced up until this point, up until this very moment, everything that you've experienced has been meaningful, has been potentially useful, has been something that you get to learn from, that you get to dissect, that you get to move through if you so choose, and let go of if you need to, in order to experience its opposite, the contrast of it, the other that you may not know in its entirety or its fullness without experiencing the opposite of it. So that would be the next thing. After we take action through and with our guidance, we go to the lessons that arrive and we thank them. We thank the lessons that come to us, even when they're really hard lessons, when they look like, hey, this is not a gift. Hello, this is a bag of shit. What? This is not a gift. But when we actually can look at that and see it as a gift, see it as an incredible catalyst for our growth and our learning, and be grateful for it, that's when we get to transmute it. That's when we get to alchemize what it initially might feel like to you, or what it initially might be acting like in your life. And we get to alchemize that into gold. All of these steps are things that we can do in our life at any moment, at any time. And I talk about this stuff because I urge people to take action on this before they have to. And what I mean by have to is that so many of us wait for that deep, dark moment. We wait to be knocked on the head and wait for that rock bottom moment to actually do anything towards living our true life, our real life. But you don't have to. You don't have to wait for the divorce or the firing or the losing all your money or the disease or the accident. You don't have to wait for that. You can actually take all of these steps right now, in this moment, from this moment forward, and choose to live this way. But so many people won't choose that because they're comfortable enough in their current state. They're comfortable enough in their discomfort that they won't choose this. And then they wait for that discomfort to be so bad that they don't have any other choice. But you do have choice. We have free will, and you have choice to move through this life with this consciousness or not. And doing things like going on, for me, it was this study abroad trip. It could be something else that you do. Maybe you go away on a week-long silent meditation, or maybe you go for a retreat somewhere where you're learning about a specific thing you've always wanted to learn about. You're doing something out of your pattern, right? It doesn't even have to be going somewhere. It could be just doing something completely new and out of your patterns that helps to trigger and awaken these new areas of you, this voice inside of you that starts to question how you might be living, how you might be doing life, how you might think about and feel through a new life. And that might not be a completely new life. It might just be a portion of your life, a piece of your life. It might be just that you feel a little meaningless in this area, or that you kind of feel a little directionless and purposeless in this part of your life, or that you could have more joy. You could be happier without, all of this external stimulation. So whatever it is that is driving you toward making a shift and moving into a transformation, however big or small, it could be something that is driven by that, again, those whispers that you have, the direction that those glimmers, those nudges, those breadcrumbs are leading you to the thing that then helps you awaken. Maybe it's a pottery class you sign up for that's 6 weeks long, and something about you and that wheel and this clay just opens something up in you. Or it's, going and finally taking those guitar lessons that you've always wanted to take, and something about this changes and starts to awaken your DNA in a new way. Or it could be a trip. It could be going away. And this is the reason behind Take a Trip, Change a Life, the company that I launched, because travel does tend to really strongly catalyze people because you're so outside of your normal day-to-day elements. You're not going on that commute. You're not working typically. You're not, in the same environment. People might be speaking a different language or eating different foods, all that. Everything is different when you travel, typically, to the point of it really shaking you up, really creating that, the elements that you need to transform, bringing all of those magical ingredients together for you to have a transformational experience. So it could be on a trip, one of the kinds that we do, something else that you're attracted to, but listen to the heart, listen to your intuition, and be open to that guidance of it showing you exactly where you need to go and point to, and then to what feels right for you in that moment to be the thing that you need at that time, which is the stepping stone that will lead you to many, many more stepping stones that you don't know exist yet, or that you don't know where they are or what they are. And that's okay. This whole journey is about trust and is about us being in and knowing that we are held in this embrace of source, of God, of this energy of all that is, of our creator, that we are held by that, that we are safe in that, that we are loved by that, and that we are a reflection of all of that if we choose to be. So, my friends, I am heading off. When this episode actually airs, I will be just landed in the UK. I'm spending with my husband and son the summer in Europe, and we will be exploring the UK as well as visiting friends in the Netherlands and in Italy. And, who knows, because it's travel, we may end up somewhere else as well, but those are where we're intending to be. And this journey for me is just an extension of, or just another one of the guided journeys that I'm on, of going where God is guiding me, going where I know we need to go in order to learn some things and to expose ourselves and open us up to whatever's next in our journey and in our life. And so I'm excited for this summer in Europe. I'm excited for what it's going to teach us about ourselves and about life itself. I'm excited for what lessons I get to bring back to this community, as well as, of course, to all the things I'll be doing in service to my company while I'm there. If you want to follow the journey, you can certainly go to The Everyday Mystic on Instagram and connect with me there. I'll be posting things throughout our 2 months there. And I have another Instagram handle with my husband as well, called The Retro Life. And that's a sneak peek into a new project with he and I that will be, that you'll learn more about. If you want to connect into it now, you'll learn more as it unfolds. So those would be the best places to follow the journey, get the insights along the way as I drop. Maybe you'll get some whispers, some glimmers, some nudges from these posts and these images and these messages that you see. Whatever you do, trust that you are held and that you are loved and that you are love, and that your beautiful soul is here to shine, and that if you are feeling like you need and want more meaning in your life, and that you are meant to be part of a higher purpose, and that you just want to immerse yourself in the joy of living, seek it, know it in your body, know it that this is your birthright to have, and let the guidance and your inner knowing point you in the right direction. That's it for now, beautiful souls. I'll see you next time on my next interview with one of my guests, and then I'll be back for a solo cast after the end of the journey that I'm on, starting July 5th. So my next solo cast will be at the culmination of all of that, to reflect back to y'all on what lessons I've got for you then. Take care, beautiful souls. Talk soon. I love you.